Hi, all. I'm Cullen Haynes, and welcome to Law Live. And thank you to anyone tuning in on the podcast or rewatching the video. My next guest has had over 25 years in the legal profession, a true juggernaut in every sense of the word, and matches the name of his firm, Progressive Legal, and been my friend for many years. Can you please, mate, welcome Ian Aldridge, director and founder. How are you, Ian? What's happening in your circle of influence, my friend?
Yeah, good, thanks. Everything's going well. It's obviously an interesting time of year, finally getting through the end of financial year, which is always is a big pain for employers. Nobody kind of realises that how much there is to do leading up to the end of financial year and the almost mini Christmas, which kind of happens every year.
Absolutely, the mini Christmas.
People talking to accountants, a couple of weeks out from the end of the financial year, and then suddenly you get all these requests for work to be done and billed and paid before the end of financial year, and sometimes you only get those instructions, a couple of days before the end, or even on the day. We had a couple of those this year, but luckily we cleared the decks.
That's so good. No, yeah, exactly. It's good that you're doing that, and obviously seeing Lawyers Weekly, Jerome, God bless him, all the promotions in the Lawyers Weekly. Breaking news: this firm does 22 promotions and whatnot. But I'm noticing that there's a lot less promotions than there have been in previous years, and a lot less people making partner, which is an interesting dynamic. And what we're seeing, especially from our side at Legal Home Loans, more firms are approaching us because they saw that we partnered with HSF. They saw that we partnered with Lander and Rogers. A lot of firms, especially HR and head of people, they've been told, what are we doing for our staff and how do we add benefits? So people are coming to us in droves, seeing how they can partner with us. And I like the title that we talked about, you're progressive at Progressive Legal. How can you be progressive in an age of mediocrity where maybe the new generation of lawyers and people coming in, maybe there's an entitled attitude of me, what can I get? I'd love to open your thoughts on that and maybe call out the elephant in the room as to Ian Aldridge's stance on all that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, if you're not already aware, you're probably under a rock, but there is going to be a very large Tesla truck hit the legal industry with AI, along with most professional services. So I think this, and it's going to happen in an exponential rate. So I think if you're, someone junior, coming into the legal profession, it's a really exciting time. But there's a real opportunity for you to stand out from, from your competitors by learning and being on the front foot with this technology, where having that skill set could set you far apart from your contemporaries, being able to navigate AI and learn prompts and all the rest. So being really, really using this as an opportunity, not a threat or oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to get a job, etc., etc. I think this could be a really great opportunity for junior lawyers to use this to their advantage. I almost wish I had this, as a junior lawyer, to be able to give them a suite of documents and ask them to have a look and see what areas of risk there might be, or draft me, something in this particular partner's style of writing. Not that partner, because that partner doesn't like that partner's style, so we don't give them those documents. We give them these documents instead, right?
Love that.
And have the opportunity to really impress your superiors, by using this technology. And I think, just like any job where there's technology involved, almost the younger you are, the better. You've got to have a bit of grey hair, or no hair to be able to advise businesses, business owner to business owner, because you've got to have some runs on the board and kilometers under the wheels.
Yes, definitely.
If you're dealing in technology, and that's where law is going to go, then as a junior lawyer, that the younger the better. So there's a really great opportunity for juniors to get their teeth sunk into this technology and really stand out from others that probably 90% of them aren't doing. So this, if you want to be in that top 10%, then having this skill set is going to be really, really useful for you.
Definitely. And I highly encourage everyone. It's now 12:05 Australia Eastern Standard Time here in Sydney, but we're broadcasting live YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Put in your questions to this juggernaut because we've only got another 19 minutes and 40 seconds before he has to jet off. So anything you want to know, please, it's invaluable time. Ask him now, and then you can re-listen to it on the podcast. Now, what does it mean to be progressive in the current era? I've obviously poked the bear a little bit and said the era of mediocrity, not leading you down a rabbit hole, but love to know what it means to be progressive, especially in law at this time for you, Ian.
I think the big thing is just like all new law is to think about it from the client's perspective, to tailor things for clients for what they want. Not the traditional our way or the highway type approach that's been used for a couple of centuries, and I think that's fundamentally got to change because people will clients will just demand that be the case, just like when clients started demanding fixed fees for legal services, just like when clients were demanding retainer packages from accountants for their accounting needs. You either adapted or you died. It's as simple as
adapt or die.
Yeah, and I think that's, law firms traditionally are the last sort of bastion to change, with technology, with different approach, with communication. Lots of law firms claim to have good work-life balance, but they don't. They claim to lots of law firms claim to foster and mentor their staff and look after their staff, but they don't. Lots of law firms claim to be open, honest, and transparent, but they're not. I think there's a lot more savviness across the board of decision makers engaging law firms, and you have to walk the walk as well as talking the talk now. You can't and because most people think that lawyers are ubiquitous and just come out of the the old Monty Python stamp machine where the people come out of the machine on a conveyor belt. That's how they think that lawyers. They think that lawyers come out of university, but you and I both know, there are lawyers and there are lawyers, there are doctors and there are doctors, there are accountants and there are accountants. And every there's just such a wide left and right of arc of what the standard and the capability of traditional lawyers, but they obviously there's a massive asymmetry of information between the decision makers in an organization and the law firm itself. So of course that's when the branding becomes a big part of it. Some law firms like straight talking, but are they actually straight talkers, or are they just aspire to be straight talkers? So I think if you want to be these values, you have to walk the walk as well. We publish our fixed costs for traditional, for standard non-complex legal documents or particular services. We publish them on our website because we feel, and I don't know any other firm that's really doing that, but we feel that if people are going to be if people are going to be making a decision based on price alone, then why not just tell them the price? There's no, let's not, waste everyone's time, trying to convince them why they choose you and not someone else. You should be able to communicate that through your website, through your social media, through your Google reviews, through your any source of online content that a business owner should or someone could find out about your firm before they choose to either engage your services or even be part of that firm. That should all really be there online, and if it's not, then I don't feel like you're communicating properly in this digital age.
No, I highly am resonating and indeed what you're saying. It reminds me of my friend from Louisiana once told me, Cullen, do you know what they call a doctor who was the lowest in their grade at university and they graduated? No, they still call him a doctor. It could be yours, it could be mine. So it's the same with, I guess, lawyers and their aptitude as well, and obviously the life experience. And it goes into that next question: has this millennial age of entitlement fostered maybe mediocrity, not only in the legal world, but in other professions as well? We were talking when we first met that one of your hires that you were trying to get to come to your firm was like, oh, I don't want to have to commute. And this was before COVID. And they're like, do you see everyone else in the office? They obviously don't live right nearby. They have to come in. You know, I just love you poking the bear even then and predicting this wave of everyone wanting to work from home, no one wanting to be in the office. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and look left and right at every other person on the train that's traveling from Sutherland, you know, to the city. The same
Yes.
thing. You know, the commute was killing him after, you know, 3 days. So look, I think at the end of the day, you know, this generation and the generation that takes over from the baby boomers, because remember, we're about to see the biggest shift in wealth and law firms that's ever happened ever. And once the baby boomers do retire, which there still are many that haven't, you know, who are just choosing to work because they love doing what they do, and you know, don't like what the alternative looks like. Which I can completely understand, and people are working, you know, longer now because they've got their wits about them, they've got the energy, and that's great. But once the baby boomers do retire, we're gonna see a very, very big change, I think, in the legal profession, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all of these sole practitioners as well too. That because you've got to remember, vast majority. Can't remember what the stat was. It's well over 80%, I think, of of law firms are sole pracs
Yes.
in New South Wales at least. So I don't know whether a lot of them have put in place the proper transitioning mechanisms, and having the younger generation, you know, take over and have that sort of transition. I suspect not. From what I can sort of see, there's not a lot of, you know, all of the firms, the smaller firms that I know are all very partner heavy. There was a very big gap between the boomers and Gen Y. I'm on the cusp of X and Y, but I've got all the X sort of mentality. But there was not a lot of, you know, people my age and 10 years up, you know, coming through these smaller firms. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to them as well too. Will they die a natural death? And, you know, the clients that they're servicing, they're all sort of you know, elderly clients, and once they move out of business as well, then they sort of fade off into the distance, perhaps. You know, I'm not sure, but we're definitely
it's an interesting point.
We're definitely going to see. I mean, it's really unfortunate that we continue to see in the profession lawyers leaving in droves for a number of reasons. You know, one, them being treated like barcodes and you know, and rinsed, especially at these larger firms where, you know, they don't really care about their staff because they've got thousands of people knocking on their doors every year to come in and try and gain a spot at this big firm. They get into a big firm, they have a terrible experience, and they think that that's what it's like in the rest of law, or they stay in the top tier or mid tier, and, you know, it's really, the bigger the building, the worse the job. So, and then they go into finance, or they go into you know, something else in the business world, anything but, and they get really turned off, you know, the law. And it's a real shame, because that can happen in just 2 years. You know, and I don't know what the stats are of those lawyers that make it to 5 years and beyond, but I suspect it's probably like, the statistics of small business survival. It's really a battle of attrition, and whether you can kind of battle it out and try and find somewhere that's better for your health, better for your mental health, better for your physical health, emotional health. Let's face it, there's a lot of not nice partners in law firms out there that really can get away with quite a lot because of the amount of revenue that they're bringing into firms. And I think that's really starting to be called out now. And that amount of bullying and atrocious behavior. Some of these partners aren't even human. So there are people like this that exist out there, and if you've had that experience before, I'm sure this will be like, yes, absolutely, resonating.
Amen, Ian. Yes. I even heard
And
one story of a partner having a heart attack, fell on the floor. I don't know if this is true, but another partner was looking like he was going to help it, just stood over him and saved the work on the computer, and then got the ambulance. I thought that was just a crazy story. I hope it's not true.
that's got to be false. But like, you've heard all the stories, files being like literally thrown at people, right? Thrown at juniors. I worked at a firm once where half of the people that walked out of certain people's offices would walk out crying. Like, what? How is that allowed? How is that possible? And also too, when we're supposed to be very collegiate as lawyers, this at the end of the day, it's a long road. It's a noble profession, and you can be a lawyer for as long as you have your wits about you. You can spend a good 40, 50, 60 years in law if you've got it in you. So I think that's definitely one thing that we have to remind juniors coming through, is that be patient. It is a long road. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And to really exercise this enormous muscle that we have in our cranium, because when you exercise it and when you practice and you jump and shift gears, you can notice it. It's definitely a muscle you can train, just like when you look at your personal trainer at the gym, you've got an amazing body, but if you opened up your cranium, you'd have a pretty awesome muscle to show them, but it's on the inside of us, unfortunately. But it's definitely
that's a good point that you
really
make.
And now too, more than ever, the ability to find information and learn is I wish I had all this 20 years ago, because we were reading books. There were still books around. We don't have many books in the office, and the only books we have in the office is because they only come in books and there's no other online solution, or it's preferable just to have them in books so you can share them around and read. But
yes,
having the ability to the amount of content that's available, there's no reason for anyone now not to be able to be an expert in a particular field in a much faster time frame than it was 20 years ago. Sure, there's more to learn. There's more acts. There's more regulations. There's more law, and there's more changes all the time. It sucks. We have to deal with it. The partner that I trained under commented when he gave a speech at the Law Society. I think when he started, there was something like 13 acts. When he first started practice, 50 years ago, and then at that time it just exploded, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acts. So, and the Tax Act was a national disgrace, and if you printed it out, it'd come up yay high, double-sided. There's a lot we have to deal with, but hopefully now with more technology, there's the ability to sift through out a lot easier and find the answers a lot easier too. But obviously
No,
it
it's
depends on
great.
how technology is going to be, and it's not there yet. Like for instance, with ChatGPT, you ask them to summarize a case or a bunch of case law in an area, and it just makes up stuff. It just hallucinates. So it's definitely not there with law just yet. But I mean, it's just going to be a matter of time. Also excited to see what Copilot will do. Yeah, I think.
What would you say? What would you say a passion project based on that in mind with AI? Is there any passion projects you're working on that you're open to share?
I am working on a couple of passion projects, but I can't say anything about them just yet.
Okay.
But it does
Okay.
involve
Very good.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Love that.
also
Love that.
yeah, and also to intellectual like combination of IP and AI. It's going to be an extremely exciting space in the next few years, and obviously it lends itself to that pretty well because IP is the oil of the 21st century. So yeah, we're excited to be able to bring something in the next year or two. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see. I think generally this is going to be a really exciting time. Imagine with Office Auto, with Copilot, being able to give Copilot your a SharePoint folder of precedent documents and ask it to create a master precedent for you.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. That's a good point that you make. And on that note, is there anything you'd like to see change in law, or have we already spoken about some of those points?
In law, I think, we've covered a few of those things, but what I want to see a change in law is when you tell someone that you're a lawyer, you don't get the responses of, oh, lawyer, yeah, dime a dozen, or oh, lawyer, are you, you're either a what head or a Harvey Specter, or what, whatever these like common notions of what, everyone knows what they get when they tell people, oh, I'm a lawyer.
Yes.
And when I got admitted, I remember we were having drink celebrations and as a bar, and someone was saying, oh, what are you guys all here for? And I'm like, oh, we all got admitted as lawyers. And the response was like, oh, you're a lawyer. So what, which one are you, a rip-off merchant or a, what head? And I was just like, wow, that was the first interaction that I had with a member of the public of like what the perception of lawyers are. So I think that's really what I want to change in law, and we become what we really should be in society, which is revered and officers of the court and respected members of the public and the profession, upholding the rule of law. I'd like to see lawyers stand up a bit more for themselves. I mean, traditionally we've taken the path of almost like the Queen, and do nothing and say nothing and kind of just be in the background. But I for those advocates that are that have the experience, that have the ability to speak up for it could be particular groups, small business, for particular groups that need a voice, in those particular areas, or have opinions on particular topics. Then we should see some more lawyers talking about and explaining to the public how this all works, and hopefully too with the advent of AI and the ability for people to find some more answers to questions that they have, which are of a sort of a general nature, then people get used to perhaps knowing a bit more about law, because it's like this mystery black box for most people out there. I think, and the stats show this. I mean, if 80% of small business don't have a lawyer or scarily have never received legal advice, it's because law's been probably done wrong in the last 200 years. Like,
Yes.
there's no inward looking here and thinking, well, hold on a second, how can we do this better? If 80% of the market is afraid to even come to us, if they prefer to go to the dentist than talk to a lawyer, then there's a real problem there. And is it because we're unapproachable? Is it because we're not personable? Is it because we're too expensive? Is it because we don't communicate in the same way as most people? There's there's probably a very long list of those things like cost, communication, and care that that's been rattled in the last couple of 100 years, and for I'm not saying that it's one side or another, but a real opportunity for lawyers out there to and law firms that drive this to encourage their lawyers, to encourage their staff to be more personable with people, to be friendly, to be nice, to be caring, to actually care about their clients, and to show that, to give them information, not hold it close to your chest, which is the traditional model, thinking that people would just, if you gave them the information, they go ahead and do it themselves. Newsflash, they already can. That's why they're coming to you.
Correct.
That's why questions, and by helping them and giving them as much information, if they're going to go ahead and do it themselves, they're going to go ahead and do it anyway, and then I'll come back to you when they may have, right? So I think and I think too, people fear what they don't know. So the more information that people can understand about how important it is to have a lawyer for their business, about what's a trademark, what's intellectual property, how do I protect it in my business? It's not scary once you've got the knowledge. It doesn't become scary anymore. And then when you know more information, then you realize how important particular stuff is. We don't know what we don't know, and we're afraid of what we don't know. And that's why when clients sometimes come to me, they're like, oh, don't know what I don't know, tell me everything you know, basically, so that I guide them into where the main areas of risk are with their business, where they should be focusing their attention on from a risk perspective, or the things they need to secure now, and in what order, and doing it that way. So I'm hoping that we see a change in that, and people being able to come to firms and at least get some information from them, to help them make a decision, and just being, kinder to the general public, and not we'll throw $2,000 in my trust account and then I'll lift my pen type approach. I think that's just, fundamentally, I know why law firms do it, but because the opposite is hard, chasing debtors, and that's tough. But I feel like you attract more bees with honey, and by being the good guy.
That's a good point you make. Absolutely, and I'm cognizant of your time. If you could give one major lesson professionals to walk away with, what would it be, and how would Ian Aldridge like to be remembered?
Well, yeah, one piece of advice to perhaps, or a couple of pieces of advice for juniors, is definitely to, sink your teeth into as much as you can, and find some passion projects, that interest you, and find some interest in law. There's, and once you become, and once you put your mind to the test and really become, and you may even have to force yourself to be interested in something. I wasn't, interested in some things so much, and then as I sort of learnt more and read more, I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting. So give it a go, like stick with it. If you don't like where you are, be somewhere else. If you don't have someone that's, if you're not working for a firm that's doing the right thing, by you or for you, then I be looking somewhere else to get a better legal experience. We spend so much time at work, and law is all about the people. A managing director of a firm famously said when he walked out the door one day, law is all about the people, and if you don't like the people, get the F out. So that really resonated with me, because I think we spend so much time with work. We spend more time with our colleagues than we do our family. And you can have the best work in the world, but working for the worst partner, and life is a living hell. And also you can be working for the best partner in the world and have terrible work, and life is great. Working with the best team, and life is great. So you know, and hopefully you find something where you really enjoy what you're doing, and you're working with a great team as well, and having some good mentorship as well too. I don't think that's too much for people to ask. But you know, definitely for the for juniors, take initiative. You know, think about what you know people who are tasking you work are going to need. Ask questions if you're not sure after you've given it a go yourself. You know, give it a go first and say, look, this is don't come up with problems. Come up with, hey, this is what's happened. These I think are what the options are, and this is where I've landed in terms of where I think we should be going with this. What do you think? Like, people that are, you know, we've got a lot of decision fatigue as managers and you know, superiors. We want people to be coming up to us and saying, hey, here's a problem, either I fixed it, or here are the options that I think, and here's the way forward, and this is what I think we should do. I wanted to at least give you some of these options, not just come to you with a problem. And that just blows people out, and like blows me out of the water when people do that, when they're wanting to solve their own problems and not just be spoon-fed and told what to do on matters all the time. I think that's just a matter of experience, right? But at least having a go, giving it a go, and doing it in a professional way, of course. But yeah, I think that really speaks volumes to people. I'm going to publish something at some stage about, you know, tips for juniors, you know, coming into firms, so that they've got a bit more things to think about when they're coming in and being inducted into the profession. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting few years to see what happens in law.
It will be. It definitely will be, and excited to have that come out, my friend.
I'd probably just like to be remembered for being someone whose net effect is good. You know, just someone who's contributed to the world and you know, and done more good than harm. You know, I mean, I think that's all we can sort of wish for as a species, but human beings, and try to live a, you know, the best life possible, get the most amount out of it, experiences, and live a long and happy life, and be remembered for being someone who gave more than they got. You know, I think that's...
I love that. Who gave more than they took. That's very similar to James Dappergy's first episode with me. And he said the exact same words. I'd like to be someone who gave more than they took, Cullen.
Cool.
There you go. Now, mate, I know you have to leave. I think it's a good time. Where can people find you? Is LinkedIn where you're hanging out?
Yeah, LinkedIn, or on the website, progressivelegal.com.au.
Oh, very good. And thank you for being part of the Law Live, and look forward to seeing you shine, my friend. And if you are a lawyer or you know someone who wants to be on the show, send me their details and we'll do our utmost to interview them. We come out every Wednesday, talking to a leader in law, live, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we'll cut this and rip it and send it to wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are a HR, head of people, or CFO or COO, and you want to make a positive change to your firm, and you want to show that you're actually caring about your team, and you liked what you heard about the staff benefits program that Legal Home Loans has and has partnered recently with HSF and Lander and Rogers, get in contact too, and we can see if you're the right fit to partner in Q3 or Q4 with Legal Home Loans. Hope all is well. Take care. Bringing you back for one last question, Ian. What would you give advice to yourself at any age, and when would you give that advice to yourself, Monomi, before we go? Bonus question.
Oh, definitely when I was starting out law, just be patient, long road. And also to because I was interested in intellectual property when I started practice, but it was super hard to get into. There wasn't many firms practicing. I thought my only road was litigation, and got pigeonholed really, really sort of early. But I've come back to intellectual property stuff now. I would definitely go back in time and you know, do a trademark attorney course, you know, while I was, you know, practicing in the first couple of years, take those further studies and go for what you're really interested in, make a plan and knock on doors, call partners, email, you know, try and see if yourself an interview because, you know, partners love love initiative. You know, someone who calls me and asks me for an interview finds my number somehow and or sends me a direct LinkedIn and saying, I've seen your firm. I know you love this. I really want to get into this area. I'd love to have an interview. You know, please let me know who I can direct my CV to. You'd be surprised who you get respond.
I love that, my friend. Love to see you kick more goals and have a great day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Law Life.